Welcome back to another Album Book Club interview. This week we're talking to Women in Peril, an emo dog rock band. Let's get to the music. So I guess we'll just start off with our first question here. So musically, who are your guys' biggest inspirations as a band? And then if you want to do individually, that also works.
We sort of all really bonded over when we all met a couple years ago. Sort of the modern wave of emo that's happening right now. And just bands like Cobb Mulligan, Mom Jeans, sort of bands that were starting to become really relevant when we were in high school was what we first initially bonded over. And I think over time, all of our music tastes have definitely, I don't want to say matured because I don't feel that way about those bands, but we've definitely become a lot more in likeness to bands like Pool Kids and Sweet Pill and even trying to lean a little heavier more towards the Gouge Wave sort of side of things. So yeah, I'd say those are big inspirations for us, currently, modernly, but I also think we derive from a lot of styles of rock. Modern emo is just one of them, but I think we listen to a lot of indie rock, a lot of Sarai and I listen to a lot of hardcore. That's where a lot of where I come from. And yeah, and even just pop too, I don't know.
Yeah, I wanted to say my individual influences too, because I'm kind of all over the place. I don't know if I told the rest of you guys this actually. I'll admit it, the reason I picked up guitar, it was because I went to a One Direction concert. So that was where it all started for me. But then I eventually made my way into all the pop punk, Fall Out Boy, Green Day, Blink-182. Paramore was a huge one for me. Also, this band Paris, I've got their guitar pick in my case. They've always been a huge influence for me too. And like Daisy said, Pool Kids, Sweet Pill, lots of hardcore. I'm very, very into Turnstile. But then there's also the softer side. I like stuff like the 1975, the Japanese House. I kind of pull from a little bit everywhere.
I know that I got into rock music for real when I got to college and was introduced to Midwest emo and the current wave of emo rock bands, and I really fell in love with American football, and they're definitely a big inspiration. But I also pull from a lot of singer-songwriters, I guess, lyrically, bands like Great Grandpa or Phoebe Bridgers. There's a band After that I've been listening to a lot as well. I really try to just listen to as much of anything that I find even vaguely interesting. Every genre of music has so much that you can take from and get inspiration from that I think my favorite songs are from, where I'm taking inspiration from something that maybe I'm just hearing about for the first time. It's fun to have new tools for everything.
Yeah, I'm big on I don't know. Okay, I grew up not really listening to a lot of music, and then I got into Fall Out Boy, which is what I would say is the first band that I was properly into. I was teaching myself how to play their songs and all my instrument, drums, guitar, bass. I was learning all that kind of stuff, playing trombone in band class. And then I got into college and I started listening to more. I listened to other than Fall Out Boy, but that was the big one for me. Got into Destroy Boys. I love indie rock that tries to reach into something weirder, something more I don't know, Wednesday or Feeble Little Horse or Swell. And then musicians like Sarita and yeah, there's just a bunch of anything that is an overarching concept put into an album that makes you feel just one big feeling the whole time. Those are the bands that I usually like to listen to more. And then for trombone, I guess Natalie Cressman and Rita Pires are the two best trombonists I've ever heard in my entire life, and they're my biggest inspirations when it comes to sound and tone and ideas and stuff like that. Yeah.
So where did you all get your name from?
I can take that one. The name actually came from an old friend of mine who was my roommate at the time. I have a few vintage sci-fi movie posters where there's this kind of Playboy-esque woman in some sort of danger from monster, and I was talking to her about not knowing what to call my band, and we were just having a little chat about it, and she joked that I was so obsessed with these posters that I should just call the band Women in Peril, since that's clearly what I'm so obsessed with. And I don't know, it like what a fun name, and what a fun then like story to get to tell. And also like, you know, being non-binary, like I felt that was a very fitting name, as you know, the half or majority of our band typically don't identify as women. Like I think it's a very like tongue-in-cheek title that also is just like really fun to say and abbreviate as WHIP.
Kind of circle back a little to your trombone playing. I want to ask how that's kind of affected the songwriting process, or if you've had any difficulty trying to incorporate trombone into your alt style, or if you've completely just made your own and just been able to roll with it.
Originally, when the band first started, I was going to be on rhythm guitar, and I was playing trombone in another band, and Chase heard me in that band, was like, never mind, play trombone. And we like barely wrote any songs, like we barely did anything at that point. And so trombone has always been like a part of the fabric of the band. Okay. At least I would say, from not day one, but like day two. I think, at least for me, writing my parts feels very natural with the style of the music. I kind of, the way I've described my trombone playing to people who would be like mixing or mastering or engineering the records we've done and the records we are doing, I usually say something like, think of it like another vocalist and kind of like a lead guitar line in itself. Like it takes qualities from both of those worlds and sits in its own very specific spot in the mix within the other instruments and stuff like that.
What is your all's favorite part of the songwriting process?
I personally, my favorite part of the songwriting process is like the first day that we work on the song. We play it just like front to back 5 times, kind of just like getting a feel for like what everybody's doing, kind of just jamming over it for a bit. And usually on like the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 9th run through of it, something just clicks and it kind of feels like it falls into place. And it's not like 100%, but it suddenly the song sounds how it's supposed to. There's a part of it that we've all heard it now and we're like, that's what we're going for. I think that's my favorite part, because it really just feels like all of us putting our brain juices together and making a little smoothie, you know?
Yeah, I also wanted to share one of my favorite parts of the songwriting process. I love when we all come together as a band, like Chase was saying, and, you know, we all put our different ideas together. But for me specifically, when I'm coming up with my lead guitar parts and all my riffs, sometimes I'll just have it. Like, sometimes I hear something immediately that just works with the song. Sometimes it takes a little longer. Like, I might have to sit with the song for a while and play around with stuff. But my favorite part is always like the aha moment, where it feels like I've kind of found like I've been mining for so long and I found diamonds or something. That's just how it feels playing around with my guitar and finding something that works. Like, there was a new song that Chase showed me one day, and they were just playing the chords, singing along. I remember this was in their living room, and immediately I came up with a riff and I was like, that's the one. Literally just on the first run. So it's little moments like that. We're all kind of like, yay, we did it, we found it. And that goes for anything else too, any other part. Anytime it all just clicks together.
I'm like the least fun person to be in the songwriting phase with, because I'm really particular and really annoying. Like, Soraya's very much like, she can just come up with a part and it just like sounds amazing off the cuff, and it's just like, I'm so the opposite. Like, I'm so like, I play something to whatever they're doing and then I'm like, this is awful, I hate this, like, blah, blah, blah. And then I like rumble over parts for like days, weeks, months. Like, even on, I know we keep mentioning, but we're in the process of some new stuff right now that we'll talk about later, but forced me to sort of have to get over that. And so my favorite part of the songwriting process is when eventually it does come together.
But yeah, my favorite part, I think, is just like the hangout of it all. I like that we just get to be in a room and get to work on something and kind of, it's like a combination of all of our minds, and you don't really get an environment like that in a lot of other settings. So I just really appreciate getting to like do that and watch everybody throw ideas out and kind of just see the progress of it go from like something kind of bad at the beginning to like, oh, this is like kind of cool.
To kind of go even a little further than just your all's communal bond as a band, how is your local community like music scene? Are they very accepting? Are they welcoming? Are they kind of cutthroat?
I can speak on that. We formed in Boston, and though we don't live there anymore, just through matters of graduating school and finishing school, Boston is a huge college town, but that should not distract from the fact that there are a lot of people who are born and raised in Boston and who make music in Boston that didn't go to school there. And there is a really vibrant DIY scene in Boston, attached to the colleges, but also not attached to the colleges. We are very blessed to be very accepted in that community. I think Boston gets a rap for kind of being like overshadowed by being so close to New York and being so up north, but it's amazing. I've met friends that I'll have forever and people that I'll know forever from being in that scene for the last 4 years. And like, I think you either know it or you don't. Obviously every scene ebbs and flows, and there's always like drama between people in some way, shape, or form. But I think at the root of it, like the Boston scene really cares about each other in a lot of ways. And like I said, like we played shows that we wouldn't even imagine of playing. And I don't know, like, you know, like it's the idea of like connecting and playing shows and doing all that is like, there's no science to it. And I think we just had people who just like understood us and got us and like fucked with us. I just like, Boston's amazing. I love Boston. I love Boston music. So yeah. And we're starting kind of our journeys elsewhere, and like, but Boston's always like, Boston music is always a home to me and to us. So yeah.
I wanted to say something about the community here in Nashville, where I live now, post-grad. I came here and I was like, this is so strange, because everyone here is some sort of singer-songwriter, like indie singer-songwriter with a little rock here and there. Or there's some country stars here too. And I was like, I feel like Women in Peril would be appreciated here. I just like wasn't too sure of it. I knew it would make its way in. And we had our first show here back in January, and I had some friends come out. There were a lot of people there, I feel like. And they all really loved us. Like, we had people coming up to us buying merch after. And I have a lot of friends today who are like begging to hear the new Women in Peril stuff that's coming out. Not to bring up the new stuff again, because I know we're talking about it later. But a lot of my friends are really supportive of us, and they do want us to play another show here again. So it's nice. Everyone in this community really lifts each other up, I feel like, no matter what kind of music they make. So I think that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So we got to see the one stop of the tour with Bug Moment that you guys were on, but how was the tour as a whole?
I fucking love Bug Moment. Bug Moment is an incredible band full of incredible people who are awesome to hang out with, and really, like, I made some really great friends on that tour, still talk like every week at least, and it was a very special, like, it was very cool to have a band from Wisconsin just, like, pick us up in New York, and, like, we just got along really well, and it was hard at times. Like, there was one drive, we had, like, a show, I think, in Virginia, and then our next show was in Kentucky, so we had, like, a 17-hour drive to figure out, like, how to do that, but we all just kind of banded together and figured it out, and like had a good time. Every show was a good time, and even on our last show when when there was no doors person or sound person and the venue like low-key didn't know we were coming, like we all had a really good time just like figuring it out and making it work. So yeah, they're great. Definitely check them out if you haven't heard them. I know you guys have, but
So, not to interrupt, a little lore drop is that I met Aiden, the drummer of Bug Moment, a year ago in a Chicago basement when I was on tour with a different friend of mine. I played drums for a friend of all of ours named Robo Pumpkin, and that was with Bug Moment, and that was like the Chicago stop of our tour. And I remember like that entire tour, it was really fun, but like sometimes being like the only like woman or AFAB person in the room, like you're very used to just like people not coming up and talking to you or like not really trying to get to know you or anything like that. And that was kind of one of those runs for me where I was just like every night I was just like kind of played the show and then just like went and hung out and like tried to meet people but like didn't really. And Aiden was like one of the first people like on that tour to come up to me and be like, who are you? Like, I love Robo Pumpkin. And I was like, oh, I know your band. And like we actually like that was the first person I like talked to and got to know on that tour. And I saw a Bug Moment and we were kind of like, that was like a weird show, but it was one of those things where like we ended up chatting for like an hour and I was like, this guy's so cool. Like this guy's so nice and like so good at the drums. And then I was kind of like, oh, but you know, he lives in Wisconsin and I live in Boston. Like maybe this might be it. We might not cross paths again. And then in January, we were booking this tour, Whip, and we were trying to do a Wisconsin stop. I was like, oh my God, I freaking know a band from Wisconsin because I remembered Aiden because I was like, this guy's the best. And we reached out to Bug Moment to do the show and they couldn't do it. And then Aiden DM'd me personally after Bug Moment was like, hey, we can't do it. And he was like, I've got this other band that would love to hop on this bill. And that band is In Shining Armor, which Seth from Bug Moment is also in. And not to plug them, but they're working on some really cool stuff right now too. And that's a band you should have on your radar. If you have Bug Moment on your radar, you should have In Shining Armor on your radar. It was just great. Like we all just clicked. And then the tour was booked through Pat from Save the Cat Touring. And we had worked with them before with some other stuff just on the East Coast. And they reached out to us and they were like, hey, we're doing this tour for Bug Moment. And they kind of threw your name in the hat. And like, we know you guys, like, do you want to do this, like the tour with them? And it was like a no-brainer. We were like, yeah, of course. So yeah, our lore goes back a little bit with those guys. So
Heck yeah. So when we saw you guys play with Bug Moment, you had some little knickknacks and baby dolls and such for sale at your merch booth. I was wondering if there was any fun story behind that or just something funny you thought to do.
I like trinkets and little things, and over my course of being in Boston, I worked at this little coffee shop, bookstore, cafe thing, shout out Trident, and they had knickknacks and things, and my paycheck, you know, being young and wanting, I acquired a lot of little guys. And when we decided to move, I realized that there was no fucking way I was taking all of them with me. So I figured, you know, you can sell them on like Facebook Marketplace and stuff, but I, for some reason, was like, you know, it would be really fun, bring them on the road and see if coincidentally somebody's like, I've been looking for this exact trinket and you have it. And yay. I think we only sold like 2 of them because most of the people who saw them were like, what is happening here? But I thought they were fun. They brought a vibe, talking point. But yeah, no reason other than was trying to get rid of them and thought, why not spread them across the United States?
Yeah, we got a little baby duckling guy. I call him Samuel.
Hell yeah.
We've almost brought it up a couple of times already, but is there any new music on the way?
yes, we have new music. We are in the works of doing something really cool for it that I'll tease just a little bit because it's still in the works and I don't want to jinx anything. But we should be seeing a physical release of new Women in Peril stuff, hopefully by the end of this year. I'm not going to say what it is or how many songs or whatever, but that's just what we're going to put out in the air right now that we're teasing. But yes, we are sitting on a lot of new stuff right now. A lot of new stuff won't be seen until probably 2026, but hopefully you'll see some new material from us before the end of this year, and in a way that's that I'm really excited about and I'm really proud about. So I know that's like not giving a lot, but I think it'll be very cool, and you should keep your eyes out for it.
I can say everything you guys put out, we here like, and we are definitely looking forward to those extra releases in 2026. As we kind of wind down here, we have a question we love to ask in every interview, which is, do you guys have any funny or fun live stories you'd like to share?
There's one show that we all think about whenever we're asked this question, and there's one show that it's the same show. This show like is such a cornerstone in our lives as people and as bandmates, I'd say. Because we met like a lot of our current best friends at this show, but it was also one of the like most intense catastrophes that's ever happened in a live setting with us. So we were the last set of like a 3 or 4 band bill at a house venue in Alston, which is in Boston. And we're playing one of our last songs. We're covering Sugar We're Going Down by Fall Out Boy. Like, it's going great. We're singing. We get like not that far into it, and suddenly like we're noticing people are like moving to one side of the room, and like I don't think we all fully like had anything clicked as to what happened, but while we were playing and just being like enjoying the music, somebody was enjoying Fall Out Boy so much that they moshed so hard and like broke a water pipe, and so the place was flooding. Like there was just water going everywhere onto the stage, everything. Our friend Tony was there. Cold water,
Sorry,
clean water.
Clarify that.
Yes,
Cold
it was
water.
not
Cold,
like it was very
clean
safe.
water.
So no one was hurt or got sick or anything like that. But our friend Tony, who we met that day, who is an incredible videographer and does a lot of concert stuff and live sessions in New York City. They're amazing. They were there, and that was like their first show they ever saw in Boston, and they were catching the pipe and trying to turn it off and like stop the water. And our friends Kate and Audrey and Reagan, who we didn't meet that day, but we were like adjacent to and we got closer to after that day, running down the stairs because they like ran the venue, and they were like running down the stairs. Like there's water on the stage, they're grabbing wires around the stage, getting electrocuted. Like it was just a mess, and everyone was going outside, and then like yeah, it was a whole thing. But now we have memes of it. There's video footage. But yeah, that's like the show we all think about when like something went really wrong. But honestly, like it went really wrong, but I think in the end it was just a really good experience for everybody in a weird way.
So at the end of these interviews, we always ask the bands for an album for us to review on our weekly podcast.
The new Charmer album, Downpour, I think that one is like a super incredible record, as well as Trying Not to Have a Thought by Algernon Cadwallader. Fantastic records, both huge influences for me personally, and I think they're both just like really incredible pieces of work.
Mine is Ego Death at a Bachelorette Party by Hayley Williams. This is her 3rd solo record, and in my opinion, the best one. I remember she released it on like some website at first, and there was no particular order that the tracks were in, so we could kind of listen to it however we wanted to. And she encouraged all her fans to make their own playlists of what they thought the order would be. It was amazing in literally any order. I think everyone should go listen to it, check out every single song. Like, it's one of those records that is meant to be listened to full length.
Mine is The Demo by Sarita. It is like probably the best album I've ever listened to right now. At least the way I'm experiencing it now, because that's a big thing to say about anything. Is like the best of all time. As musicians, we're always growing and changing, and the sounds we look for are always growing and changing.
I'll come in with 2 emo records that came out this year. There's this one record that I really like that came out in June this year from this band called First Day Back. The record is called Forward. They're like kind of for fans of like they sound like Jejun and Everyone Asked About You, sort of that like late 90s, early 2000s era of emo. And then actually Seth and Aiden from Bug Moment put me onto this record and then put the rest of us up to this record on tour. The new Downward record that came out in March. It's a band that's always been on my radar, and I've always liked them, but this record is just like, it just makes me feel bad. And
This is where we get to our favorite part of the show. This is the Plug Yo Shit segment. This is where you guys get to shout out everything you got going on, coming out, and coming up.
Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, on Spotify, on Apple Music, on YouTube. We're Women in Peril on all of that. And keep your eyes peeled for some really cool stuff that's coming up that I don't... I'm not going to say what it is, but we've got some really cool stuff coming up and some music coming out before the end of the year. So keep your peepers peeled.
Thank you guys very much. We appreciate your time. I believe that's all we have for you.
Thank you. We appreciate the time.